The 100-meter dash at the Olympic Trials is about to go down. And honestly, I didn't come into this week with any intention of making this video. But I'm also aware that this is going to be the biggest sprinting event that we're likely going to see for the next 4 years, not including the Olympic final itself. So for that reason alone, I figured that I should probably put my honest opinions out on the record. That way, if I get it right, I can say that I told you so. And if I get it wrong, well, I guess that just makes me human. And in case you haven't been paying attention, I'm going to make it clear what is on the line right now. Because Noah Lyles went on Jimmy Fallon, and he said that he wants to be on the Mount Rushmore of track and field as the best sprinter that we have ever seen in history. And we know we have to actually beat out in order to get that title. But if he doesn't take care of business at the Olympic Trials, you can kiss all of that goodbye. Beyond that, Fred Kerley also told us that the next time he runs the 100-meter dash, he's going to break the world record. That's going to have to happen at the Olympic Trials for him to keep that promise. And considering whatever just went down in New York City when he didn't actually run the event, and the fact that he's never broken 9.7 up until this point, I'm not holding my breath, but I am going to be watching. If you watch my channel, then you should know by now that I love track and field, but I also have to give a special shout out to Justin Gatlin and what he's doing over on his channel, because he is having very real conversation about the sport, and he's keeping the same energy that we would normally talk about the NBA or the NFL. So in this very same spirit, I'm going to attack this conversation. So as I preview the men's 100-meter dash, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. But I am still just one man with one opinion, albeit a very informed one. And if you disagree with those opinions, that's fine. That is what the comment section is for, and I do try to read them all. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. I normally like to spend most of my time talking about the athletes that you don't know much about. But when it comes to this Olympic Trials, specifically, there's really only a few names that we need to pay attention to. Because as far as I'm concerned, we have the favorites and the contenders. Everybody else is just a contestant. They're just showing up so they can say they were at the trials. And I'm saying this after reviewing the entire entry list for everybody who's going to be lining up during the heats. You probably already know the names of the favorites, but I'm going to say them anyway, because they're the same three that I have on my list. Noah Lyles, Fred Kerley, and Christian Coleman. And for this moment, I'm going to say in no particular order, and here's why. Noah Lyles is the reigning world champion, but Fred Kerley is also the world champion the year before that. And Christian Coleman is the world champion right before the Olympics in 2019, which is technically the world championship before that. This is important because once you already won the world, you know what it takes to do it again. Making Team USA ain't a big deal for these guys. If I really had to pick one of those three to not qualify out and make the team, because there's only 3 spots, Fred Kerley would be that name, because since we hit 2023, he hasn't looked like the same guy. I'm not saying he's not fast, and I do believe in his talent. I just haven't seen much, indoors or outdoors. He got a bye into the World Championships last year, so I can't even really count that. And he didn't make the final once he did. Christian Coleman did just win the World Indoor Championship in the 60, and he has run a few Diamond League races in the 100. He doesn't look slow at this point, and he was in the World Championship final last year. You can say what you want about the fact that he doesn't always make it to the line in front, but the fact that he's always in those races with all the other fast men means it's going to be really hard for anybody else in America to keep him off the team. And when it comes to Noah Lyles, I have learned my lesson, so I'm not betting against him. After winning the Worlds last year, the race he just ran in Jamaica made it clear. Ain't nobody keeping him off this team. Not when he's running like that. Because if you've got to run 9.8 in the final, at the very least, to compete, there are a lot of men on the starting line who can't pull that off. The Olympic Trials, for him specifically, is just a formality. He's not allowed to make the team. The only thing that can happen is he can fail to make it, because he is supposed to win the 100 and the 200. He wrote that check himself with the words that he was speaking on Jimmy Fallon. So now it's time to cash it in. And I told you that I was going to be very unfiltered with this take. So when it comes to the contenders, I could give you a few names, but there's really only one that I'm seeing. Kenny Bednarik is the only legit contender. I'll give you the two pretenders after this. Again, no shade. I'm just being real about what I've seen to this moment. If you forget about the clock for the moment, Kenny Bednarik seems to have the X factor that you need to make this team. He tied with Noah Lyles. Basically, they gave Noah Lyles the win at the Tom Jones Memorial in their Olympic Development 100. But he is the world leader in the 200. Granted, Noah probably would be the world lead if he didn't have to run into a minus headwind when he was at the New York City Grand Prix. But that's not what I'm really focused on at the moment. It's the fact that Kenny said himself he plans to win at the trials. He is the fastest man in the world that many fans refuse to acknowledge as such. But who cares whether you acknowledge him or not? He still makes these teams all of the time, and he was fourth at the last Olympic Trials in the 100. So this is his moment to correct that. But I did tell you there were two other contenders, technically, but that's really only because of their resumes. Quavon Charleston was the American champion last year. I honestly don't know if he'd even run any races this year, but he's listed on the qualifying list. So for that reason alone, I'm going to assume he's going to race. And if he does, you can't count out any man who just beat Noah Lyles and beat Christian Coleman and made Team USA last year. And whether or not we want to acknowledge it, Ronnie Baker was in the Olympic final back in 2021. So anybody who's already made it that far cannot be ignored when they show up again to the Olympic trials. But he hasn't been running times over the last year or so that tell me that he's going to actually pull it off. I could keep going and give you a whole bunch of other names, but by this point, I'd really just be talking about the contestants. They're just trying to make the final. But as far as actually making the top three, let's be honest, they ain't gonna beat the guys I just said. Christian Miller just finished high school, and I know that he can run incredibly fast. He just did it at the New Balance National Meet. But I'm also not certain that he can run that fast under pressure from other incredibly fast men. You don't really do that in high school hardly ever. Sprinters like Kendall Williams and Kyrie King consistently make USA finals at this point in their career. They just never actually make the team when they do. And for all the college kids who are going to be showing up to the meet, I haven't seen any evidence that they have what it takes to beat the men who are the actual favorites. So yes, somebody's probably going to make a final, but that's really all that's going to happen. They're going to be in that race. I could be wrong about that part, and it would be a nice surprise if I am. But like I said, I'm going to be 100% of real with you on this video. But if I'm going to keep that same energy, there are two dark horses that I have to give you the names of. PJ Austin and Brandon Hickman. They run way faster than you realize. They just haven't been pros long enough for us to have any real track record on them. For that reason alone, I'm not picking them. But if they actually turn up, well, they're fast enough to pull it off. So hey, stranger things have happened. If I'm being selfish, I just want to see Fred Kerley break the world record, because he said he was going to do it, and I'm definitely going to tune in to watch. And considering that Coleman never got to run in the last Olympics, with all the things he's already accomplished in his career, making this team is probably the biggest moment that he's been working up to. But Noah Lyles sure enough can't become the greatest sprinter ever if he can't figure out how to be the fastest one in his own country during an Olympic year. So you can take your pick, whomever you actually think is going to pull this off. We know the names of the men who are supposed to do it, but they've still got to go through all of the other men, the contestants, as well as the contenders, in order to prove it. And if I did not say your name at all, I invite you to prove me wrong, because the lanes on a track don't discriminate. Fast is fast, and unfortunately for all the favorites, that is the problem they have to overcome to make Team USA. SCA track and field gear is here. Fast is a lifestyle, and what you wear should reflect that. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.